everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about compassion fatigue. If you watch this video and you like what you see, hit like, hit share, hit subscribe. And if you want to skip past the what is compassion fatigue portion of this video and jump right into the 5 steps I have for taking care of yourself if you're experiencing compassion fatigue, hit the timestamp down below in the description. Also down in the description will be links and stuff to videos and a couple articles for research that I did. So compassion fatigue was something that was discovered by Dr. Charles Figley, if you're interested in looking into him at all. And this was something that he discovered affected a lot of professional carers. So first thing I want to mention is I watched a really cool TED Talk, link down below. And Juliette Watt in that video said, helping shouldn't hurt. And that is all of what compassion fatigue is about. It's physical and emotional exhaustion that comes from helping others or being really close by or witnessing, reading about, internalizing trauma or tragedy going on in the world. And what happens is you become less able to show compassion or empathize with others. This is different from burnout. Burnout is when you are working too much and you hit the limit of what you're physically and mentally capable of doing. But some of the side effects of burnout are quite different from compassion fatigue, in the sense that compassion fatigue really starts to, or it has the possibility of desensitizing you from the world around you. So compassion fatigue used to be a term that was reserved more for professional carers, people in the medical profession, EMTs, police, firefighters, social workers, psychologists, people who work in like animal trauma services, because they are seeing and experiencing or hearing a lot of stories or coming into contact with trauma and tragedy of others. And eventually that does start to weigh on you. And now this is something that's relevant to all of us because we have such easy access to tragedy and trauma that's going on all over the world. We're inundated with bad news instead of good news, and we're overwhelmed by it. And we think it's kind of normal. Actually, it's not. It's not normal to be consciously aware of the suffering of millions of people. But that's one of the side effects that social media and that global connectiveness through the internet has led to. And this compassion fatigue feels like isolation, experiencing less joy in your own life, being worried or feeling burdened by the suffering of others, even people you don't know. This leads to poor self-care. It can lead to sleep problems. And one of the worst symptoms of it is actually denial. Denial that you are experiencing compassion fatigue, denial that it's bothering you. Because what happens when you're denying something like that is then you are not taking care of it. But it's something that I imagine does actually affect most of us at some point, because sometimes bad news is the best clickbait. You want to see what's going on. You want the update on the story. And so if we're not aware of ourselves and how we're doing, that is a trap that we can fall into. So 5 steps, that's 10. 5 steps that we can take if you're experiencing compassion fatigue. The first one is put down your phone. Put it down. Don't touch it. Set aside time where you are not on your computer or on your phone, because those are the places, social media are the places where these kinds of tragic stories or bad news comes up often. So putting down the technology and removing it from your life for a little bit of time is significant in making a difference. It serves to inundate you a little less with all the bad news that's out there. Number 2, self-care. Be taking care of yourself. I feel like that goes without saying, but sometimes we forget to do it. And especially when there is so much tragedy going on in the world, taking care of ourselves can be so impactful to how we're doing when it comes to hearing about these things. So make sure you're taking time for you. Number 3, connection with others and validation of your feelings. You're not the only person who feels totally overwhelmed by everything going on in the world. So take some time to sit down with one or maybe a group of people that you trust. Set aside some time to talk about how you're feeling with things, how you're doing with things going on in the world, and then talk about something nice after that, or something, that you guys have in common, a hobby. Talk about some positive things at that point. But Take the time to validate how you're doing, to talk about what it is to experience some of, witnessing or being aware of some of these tragedies going on in the world. And you'll definitely know that you're not alone in that case. If it helps you right now, you're not alone, because I feel it too. Number 4, boundaries. And this can mean boundaries with others or with yourself. Boundaries with others might look like asking that the conversation be steered in a different direction. It's okay not to want to talk about these things all the time. It's not that you don't care. It's that you need to take some time away from that to take care of yourself. It's not that this issue isn't important for you. It's that sometimes it's too much. And that's okay. And it's okay to ask for what you need when it comes to other people. This could also be boundaries with yourself in the sense that you need to set some boundaries about how long you're spending reading the news, looking at what's going on your phone, flipping through social media where a lot of these things come up and people do end up sharing bad or tragic news because they want to share with the world how they're feeling. But that might mean setting some boundaries with yourself and being aware and, really owning up to what your behavior might be in some of this. Number 5, journaling or having a gratitude journal. Pen to paper can really be magical. It slows down your thoughts. You can't write as fast as you can think most of the time. So having the opportunity to slow down, get your thoughts out on paper can be really, really helpful. It's also an opportunity to, stop yourself and go, okay, taking these thoughts, I'm putting them down on paper. Your journal is holding them. That piece of paper is holding those thoughts for you, and you can let them go for a while. Having a gratitude journal is also a great idea because it helps you to focus on some good or positive things in your own life. Guaranteed, if you every day sit down and even just write out one good thing that happened that day, one thing to be grateful for, you will find it. Even if it's as simple as you made yourself breakfast or you made your bed in the morning or you have a roof over your head. It doesn't have to be this complicated journal of wonderful, magical, Instagram life good things. Take a moment and figure out what you can be grateful for, and that will help alleviate some of the somberness that goes on. And a bonus tip, awareness. Be self-aware. Be aware of your environment or the people you're interacting with. Being able to stop and check in with ourselves is a really great skill, and it's a really great way of taking care of ourselves. And it's good to be aware of something like this where compassion fatigue isn't always obvious, and we're desensitized to the fact that we are seeing, reading, and hearing about trauma and tragedy. Caring shouldn't cost, and you really can't pour from an empty cup. So take the time that you need for yourself. Compassion and empathy is really not something that I would ever want to lose for my life. And I know that it means that I have to take time for myself sometimes so that I can recharge for myself and be able to be there, even if it's just for my friends or, in a simpler way like that, not necessarily with the biggest world issues. And a little bit of prevention here for you as well, just because it's possible to get out of compassion fatigue and it's also possible not to go back there. So for prevention, again, self-awareness is so key. Take the time, check in with yourself. How are you doing? Do you need self-care? Do you need an ice cream bar? Do you need a bubble bath? Do you need time with friends? Figure it out. Check in with you. Go have a nap. Sleep is important, guys. Think about what world issues matter to you most. Focus. Don't try to solve all the world's problems. You will short circuit yourself and you probably won't get anything done. Pick the issues that matter to you the most. Focus on making change in those ones. Focus on awareness or focus on working towards whatever kind of steps you want to take in your own life. By focusing in on a couple of things, you're going to take the stress out of trying to do everything or trying to care about everything. Again, it's not that you don't care about these issues, but when you're able to focus in, we can be a lot more effective if we're focused on something. And for prevention, for compassion fatigue, be compassionate towards yourself. It's one of the easiest things you can do. Sometimes it's hard, but I think it's one of the best prevention steps is taking compassion and directing it towards yourself first. And that's going to make it a lot easier to direct out there. So I hope these tips helped you out. If you think they could help somebody out, share this video with them. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next week.